I want to say like this isn't us, but it is. It is. It's a government by and for crooks. It's just at warp speed now. They're not even trying to hide it. We are overrun with corruption scandals that they don't even really register on people's radar anymore. Private companies allege that Corey Lewandowski had sought to enrich himself during his time working at the Department of Homeland Security. The executive of a private prison is even one of his accusers, and we've got all of the salacious details. But Cenk, what are your two cents here?
Yeah, he's bringing old school corruption back. This isn't like campaign contributions and dark money and PACs. No, this is pay me, otherwise you don't get a government contract. It is over the top. So Jordan, tell him about it.
Now, allegations of Lewandowski's corruption erupt from an ongoing beef between Lewandowski and George Zoley, the CEO of the private prison company known as GEO Group. Back before Lewandowski was even in DHS, he and Zoley had conflict during Trump's transition after he won the 2024 election. NBC News reports Lewandowski told Zoley that he wanted to be paid in exchange for protecting and growing GEO Group's DHS contracts, according to a senior DHS official and 3 people familiar with their discussion. According to sources who spoke to Zoley, he claims he rejected Lewandowski's solicitation, but the confrontation between the two was described as tense. Now, with Trump's new draconian immigration policy, Zoley, as the CEO of one of the largest private prison companies, was initially giddy at the prospect of securing contracts with the administration. But his optimism quickly soured when he discovered that Lewandowski accepted a position as a special government employee, essentially working as former DHS Secretary Kristi Noem as her chief of staff. It's worth noting that he was also allegedly having an affair with her. Zoley attempted to patch things up with Lewandowski and scheduled a meeting with him in early 2025. During that meeting, Zoley suggested GEO Group would pay Lewandowski a recurring consulting fee, but Lewandowski did not accept this offer. 2 sources who spoke to NBC News claimed he wanted to be paid based on the company's new or renewed contracts with DHS. One person with knowledge of the meeting told NBC News that he wanted payments, what some people would call a success fee. That's what you're calling it. Now, those two sources mentioned earlier maintain that Zoley refused Lewandowski's request for payment. And in the wake of this meeting, GEO Group saw its number of federal contracts shrink considerably. Despite a contract being awarded to them in December of 2025, a senior DHS official claimed that 2 weeks after their meeting, Lewandowski instructed him not to accept any future contracts with GEO Group. Lewandowski, through a spokesperson, denied this claim as well as the allegations leveled at him by GEO Group, saying, "This is absolutely false and did not happen. Mr. Lewandowski never demanded any payment or compensation from GEO Group at any time." And there's more, Cenk, but I want to bring you in here at just kind of the top level of this story. What do you make of it?
Yeah, so here's what is very unlikely to happen. A massive Republican donor and private prison operator, GEO Group, turning on the Republicans and accusing them of corruption when that didn't happen, right? And they're just like, oh, you know what? Let's just betray the guys that we've been in cahoots with for decades here that have gotten us all the money to build these loathsome private prisons. There's no good guys in this story, right? It's not like there's like someone on the left who's like, I think Lewandowski did something wrong. This guy is as right-wing as it gets and profits from some of the disgusting systematic corruption and systemic corruption within the US government. Greases the politicians with campaign contributions to get more private prisons. He has no incentive at all to go after Republicans like Corey Lewandowski, especially ones as connected as him and running the Department of Homeland Security. So it is deeply unlikely that they would make up this story and endanger any further contracts that they might get. And Jordan, you'll notice that these stories are now coming out when Lewandowski's on his way out. When he had the power, they were all still afraid of getting punished in the way that it looks like GEO Group was punished by Lewandowski. But now that he's on the outs, that Noem is being moved out, and every report in the world says that they're going out, even though they're both married to different people. And so he's going to be moved out of Department of Homeland Security too. He's, now they can tell him everybody what actually happened. So now the knives come out and they start, shivving him, which they've wanted to do all along because he's been holding them apparently hostage and demanding ransom.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the shift, but the GEO Group is not the only one. Numerous senior officials at the White House have raised concerns that Trump's closest confidants and Trump himself about how Lewandowski stood to profit over contracts he was overseeing. One senior White House official told NBC News they had received a dozen complaints from at least 4 companies about Lewandowski's involvement in the contracting process during the second Trump administration. A company called Salis Worldwide Solutions, which had secured a contract with DHS worth around $1 billion, contacted a marketing firm on 2 separate occasions requesting that they bid for contracts with agencies under DHS. After initial calls with Salis, the marketing firm was contacted by Salis representatives. Those representatives suggested that the firm should properly thank the person who made the deal possible, naming Lewandowski and consulting firms connected to Lewandowski.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
In other words, it appears as though Salis was prodding the marketing firm to pay Lewandowski and or firms linked to him. Marketing firm refused and lost both bids. Now, Lewandowski and Salis deny that any of the above occurred. There's no evidence as of yet that Lewandowski successfully received money from any of those contracts, but the allegations are, to say the least, wild. And if you're upset about that, Cenk, I guess wait until you hear about Donald Trump's sons.
Yeah, so speaking of Donald Trump, look, there's 2 more things here. Number one, Lewandowski might actually be in trouble. And the reason is because he screwed over fellow Republicans and fellow right-wingers, right? If he screwed over the left wing or the average American, they'd be high-fiving, which leads to the second point. So Donald Trump asked his aides, hey, that $220 million ad campaign that Kristi Noem did for herself at the Department of Homeland Security, did Corey have anything to do with that? Did he profit off of that? Because Lewandowski, when he runs campaigns, and this is true of a lot of people who run campaigns, pay themselves a percentage of the ads that they run. So it's possible that Lewandowski got, not only did Noem get all the publicity from those ads, although it's now come back to bite her, but Lewandowski might have made a small fortune from the commission on those ads. So when he asked about that, Trump apparently told his aides, quote, Corey made out on that one. And what I got out of that, Jordan, is Trump thinks, game recognizes game. And he's like, Corey made out on that one. I stole all that money from the government, okay. Like, they apparently think this is fairly normal. And the only reason he's getting thrown under a bus now is he screwed over too many Republicans.
Yeah, it's really disgusting. It's shameful. I want to say like this isn't us, but it is. It is. It's a government by and for crooks. It's just at warp speed now. They're not even trying to hide it. I mean, and we are overrun with corruption scandals that they don't even really register on people's radar anymore. I mean, remember the Tom Homan $50,000 cash in a fast food chain paper bag story from a few months ago? Where's that? It's just gone, faded into the ether because we're just overrun with, Donald Trump, another corruption scandal. Donald Trump, another multi-million or multi-billion-dollar scandal. Donald Trump's sons somehow happened to be on the board of a company winning Defense Department contracts. They're doing it out in the open. I think we're so desensitized from the first term where he was so clearly profiting off the office that it's just not even a motivating factor anymore. Even just one of these things would end someone's political career 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we even in the first Trump term, you had a member of Congress who had to resign in shame because he spent too much money on office renovations because he wanted it to look like Downton Abbey or something. That's a thing of the past. You could just do whatever you want. It's a joke. Everything is a joke.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you're forcing me to say two more things. Look, Tom Homan made the term "get the bag" literal. Right? I mean, in any other administration, if an Obama official had gotten $50,000 in cash in a bag, that would have been the biggest scandal of the entire 8 years of Obama, and the Republicans would still be talking about, oh, why don't you get the bag? Right? And with Homan, they're like, yeah, whatever, he got bribed, so what? So what? We're crooks, we're criminals. Homan's not here to round up the criminals, he's here to round up the cash because he is the criminal, right? And we're totally used to it, and we think it's now become normalized. And then finally, to your point about the sons and the family, look, just today in the news, Donald Trump did an unauthorized sale of $23 billion in weaponry to the Gulf countries. It's supposed to go through Congress. He's like, I don't care about the law. No, I'm not gonna go through Congress. I'm gonna do it in a non-constitutional way, and sent them $23 billion worth of contracts. And just last week, what was in the news, Jared Kushner is working on a new $5 billion deal with the Gulf countries. But I'm sure it's a wild coincidence. And by the way, Hunter Biden was a rank amateur. Jared Kushner's like $5 million deal from a Ukrainian gas company. I do declare, hold my champagne. Here's a $5 billion deal. And that's how you do corruption.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.